Hey y'all, there are 5 not so random things that I want to talk to you about today and get your feedback on. So real quickly, I want to cover my experience so far doing GriefShare, how things have been going with my plan to walk every day, a little bit about my experience with my dad dying, a little bit about my experience with miscarriage, and some videos that I am about to make around grieving as a Christian. If you're new to me, my name is Molly and I talk about life after the death of my daughter. I want to support other people who are grieving as well as others who love us but do not know how to deal with grief or how best to support us. So first of all, we are currently going through GriefShare as a family. I put off joining a face-to-face support group for quite a while. I think that the timing worked out well, that it's not just me going through it or just me and my husband, but that all of our boys are also participating with us. GriefShare is a faith-based grief support group. Currently, given the crisis across the world, we are about to start meeting online. So I don't know if we'll get back to meeting face-to-face, but I wanted to share a little bit about our experience so far with these face-to-face meetings. I have done some online grief support groups before, but this has been our first experience with a grief support group in person. So in a nutshell, I hate it, and it's amazing. There's some aspects to it that I anticipated that also put me off from joining a face-to-face group like this before now. For one thing, anticipating the other people that would be part of the group and what their experiences are and how it would feel like just a constant opening of the wound with no moving forward. There have been some experiences like this. There are some things that are frustrating, but we went into this with an open mind. We decided as a family, and of course my husband and I talked about this to our children, with our children, that we were going to go into this open-minded. We were not going to concern ourselves with other people who like to talk the most, or with other people who don't hear what someone is saying. They just want to continually rehash what they want to say. And we really wanted to absorb the information as much as we can and learn from it what we can, and also be open to opportunities where we might be able to encourage someone else or say something that's helpful for someone else. Something that I was afraid of is most of the people in this group are there because their spouse died. And my husband and I feel very awkward being there together where people would say, well, you still have each other. Because there are people who don't see past that, yes, we are there with each other, but we're here grieving the death of our daughter. And the person who might be judging us for still having each other has all of their children living. And they don't understand what it's like to bury their child. So they really cannot find that compassion. So we're careful about things that we say or don't say around these people who their experience is the death of a spouse or the death of a parent. As of right now, no one there even knows that both of our fathers have died or any other deaths that have occurred in our families. One, because I haven't felt comfortable to share. And I think you know what I mean when I say not everyone deserves to hear your story. Not everyone is able to hear all of your story. And we also feel kind of awkward still walking in with 5 of us, just rolling in this group, taking up all this space. And it does feel very awkward. So moving forward with things being online, I don't know if that will be better or worse, or how it's going to go. There is more of a connection when you are in person as opposed to online, and I'm trying to continue to be open to that and to let myself be supported and also to be open to supporting others. We are determined to finish all the lessons. The lessons are very overwhelming. It's exhausting just watching the videos each week. This program, like I said before, is faith-based, and so far it's about 50-50, me feeling supported and hopeful, and also me feeling offended or annoyed at the approach that's taken with specific topics. That being said, I plan to do a full video after we finish the program reviewing the experience overall. If you have done GriefShare, I would love for you to put in the comments your experience, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, if you would recommend it. And let me know what you want me to talk about in that video whenever I do my full review of GriefShare. Next thing, am I walking every day like I said I was going to? Something about my personality, if you haven't figured this out yet, is I am honest to a fault. I think I can even make people uncomfortable with my honesty, and I have to be careful about who I'm honest with. And I only just recently realized this, and especially after my daughter died, realizing that not everyone is honest with you or even with themselves. And that used to really get on my nerves whenever I would think, I share openly with you what my experience is with whatever, and then you tell me something different than what I see. Does that make sense? Like, when somebody tells you that they're doing something one way, but you see them doing the absolute opposite thing, and that's super frustrating. So I could get on here and tell you, I've been walking every day, and I've been tracking it, and I'm feeling so good, and you should walk every day. However, I'm not gonna lie to you. So I did find my little tracker to wear, and I tried to wear it all the time, but when I would take it off to wash my hands or to wash dishes or to do anything else, I would forget where I put it and would forget to put it back on. And so I have no idea how many steps I've walked every day because I gave up trying to wear the thing. If you are someone who is dealing with grief and grief brain, then you understand what I'm saying when I say how hard it has been to remember just to wear the thing. I think other people who don't know what this is like can't grasp how hard can it be just to remember to wear your watch, just to put it back on. Like when you see it sitting in front of the kitchen sink, why don't you just put it back on? To not understand how hard it is to make your brain do things when your brain is really preoccupied with just keeping you from jumping off a bridge. When you're in survival mode, and survival mode lasts for years, things like remembering to put on your tracker watch, it's just not happening. Could I try harder? Yes. But if I try harder to remember to put on that watch, then I have to let something else go. What else am I going to let go? Because as I've said previously, my philosophy is to do the bare minimum of anything that you need to do to survive while you are grieving, while you are in survival mode. And so for me to remember to put on the watch means I would have to give up something like drinking water or making dinner. My energy level and my brain function is very limited to like a handful of things every day. And if you haven't seen the video that I made about the spoon theory and you're not familiar with that, definitely check that out too, because there's a reason why you can only handle so many things a day before you just have nothing else to give. Another thing is, I have lots of excuses about why I haven't been walking. I wanted to walk in the woods, but I don't have good boots for walking in the woods. So should I order some boots? Should I just get some more rain boots because mine have holes in them because I want to be able to walk through the creek? But there's a lot of snakes in the woods right now, and it's getting really too hot. And I'd either have to do it first thing in the morning, which means I would have to give up some of my morning activities, or after work when it's too hot and I also want to do other things like work in the garden. Do you see my problem? I'm struggling, y'all. I'm struggling to prioritize putting it in the schedule and making it happen. So what's my point? My point is, hey, I'm human and I have grief brain and I'm doing the best I can. And this is me being honest with you to a fault. Whether you judge me or not doesn't bother me, because I am just letting you know what my experience has been so far in trying to prioritize walking every day. That's enough about that. Next thing, I have not shared with you about the time that my dad died. There are actually a lot of deaths that have happened in my family in recent years. A lot of deaths that happened really closely to when my daughter died. But for now, I just want to talk a little bit about the fact that my dad died at a young age. He was only 65. It was completely unexpected. And he, to put it bluntly, dropped dead. This was 9 months before my daughter died. I wouldn't say this was the biggest loss that I had had, but it was a very traumatic loss, mostly because I didn't have a great relationship with my dad. And I mourned the loss of the relationship that we could still have had in this life. And there's a whole lot more that I could go into about my relationship with him, but what I wanted to share more than anything is my daughter dying is not the only loss that I have experienced. I've had a lot of practice in dealing with the death of family members and people that I love to compare, for lack of a better word, to when my daughter died. I'm not here to say that because my dad died and my daughter died, I can tell you definitively that someone's level of grief over a parent is not nearly as bad as the death over a child. I don't want anyone to experience the death of a child. I don't want you to have to understand what I'm feeling because you're experiencing it yourself, because that is the only way you will understand, is if you also have buried a child. My point is to simply let you know that 9 months before my daughter died, I did experience the death of my dad. And the death of a parent at a young age, when they're supposed to live to be a certain age, you're supposed to be significantly older when your parent dies. The things that are the normal trajectory of life, that this is something that I have actually grappled with myself. But I will say this. The day my daughter died, I completely stopped thinking about the death of my dad for a significant amount of time. And I'm only just now beginning to remember and beginning to think about how his death has affected me and still affects me and my family right now. If you have experienced the death of a parent, especially at a younger age, let me know if this is something that you would like for me to talk about more, if you would like for me to go more into detail about coping with that sort of a death, and what your experience has been, how people treat you, the things people say, things like that. Let me know in the comments. I also want to talk about my experience with miscarriage. I want to make a longer video around this topic, but for now, I just want to open the conversation. So if you have experienced miscarriage or someone you love has experienced it, let me know, again, where do you want me to take this conversation? What would you like me to share more about? The short version of the story is my first pregnancy ended in a missed miscarriage, meaning I went to the doctor at 10 weeks for a healthy pregnancy checkup and visit, and there was no heartbeat. And then we had to start the process of more ultrasounds and preparing for having a D&C. For a long time, I have wondered, did my doctor do the right thing? Was I too trusting? Should I have had a second opinion? What if the baby wasn't gone? My point in bringing this up is all these years later, since that baby, I still remember that baby's birthday, when that baby was due. And for years, even before my daughter died, I could bring that up with people, and you can see their face, you can see their eyes sort of glaze over. You know what I'm talking about, because it makes them uncomfortable. And I had thought for years, why is this still so taboo? Miscarriages are actually relatively common, and yet we can't talk about it. We can't mourn those babies, not for very long anyway. You have to just give it like a week or so, and then you have to get over it. And if you already have other children, you're supposed to just be thankful for those children. Or you can have more babies, knowing I know people who can't get pregnant again. And the thoughtless things that people say, and how if I were to just in conversation want to talk about my miscarriage, my dead baby, how uncomfortable that makes people. But I wanted to bring this up because I've been wanting to share this with you so that, again, that you understand I have experienced this as well. If you want me to share more about this, again, digging into the things that people say when you have a miscarriage and the way that people expect you to get over it, and how you have coped with a miscarriage, or someone that you love has coped with a miscarriage, how we can support each other and how we can help others support us better with this kind of experience. Put it in the comments and let me know so that we can talk about this more. I just want to open the dialogue to start a conversation on this subject because it's important and because it's one of those losses that is really overlooked. So let's get the conversation started in the comments below and we'll go from there. Okay, final thing. I'm about to start a series on what it's like to grieve as a Christian. I've only made a couple of videos on this topic, and I really want to get back to digging into a lot of the things that need to be talked about when it comes to death and grief as a Christian. I'm challenging myself to put out 5 videos over the next week on 5 different topics around grieving as a Christian. If you have a specific topic you would like for me to cover, let me know in the comments. And if you want to catch those videos and you're not already subscribed to my channel, subscribe and tap the little bell that gives you all the notifications so that you'll be notified for each time that a new video comes out. And the last thing that I want to say, because if you're watching this during the time of crisis where we're all at home and we're all uncertain about the health and the future of the whole world, if you are stuck at home with your spouse or your children and you're complaining about being stuck at home with your spouse or your children, and someone that you love that has buried their spouse or one of their children hears you complaining, please understand that you sound completely thoughtless and insensitive. I would give anything to be stuck at home with my little girl right now. And so to hear someone complain about how now they're having to homeschool their children and their children are driving them crazy, it's so thoughtless and so insensitive because you don't understand what your life would be like if one of your children dies. You would look at this time and be so grateful to be together 24/7 right now, building those relationships and creating memories with each other. So please be mindful of what you post on social media and what you say in front of other people that might be feeling really alone and really struggling right now and feeling very hurt by the thoughtless things that you might be saying about your situation right now when there are so many people whose loved ones are dying of this illness right now. So let's just check ourselves. Let's just be a little more sensitive and remember to be kind. And be sure to come back for more videos in the future. But in the meantime, check out the video or playlist that YouTube is suggesting for you right now that YouTube thinks you might want to watch next. Where did I put my water? Oh, it's in my lap. Stupid idiot. My point is, what is my point? That's it. I'm done.